Kerrow, we've been here before after an election, only that this time round it's coming 7 months after a new president is in office. But when you look at what is being proposed, the bipartisan approach, the issues on the table, what Azimio is raising, what Kenya Kwanza politicians are saying, we can only talk about IBC matters. Do you think it's going to resolve this matter once and for all so that after the next election you don't have similar challenges?
Thank you. I think the issue is discussions are not going to resolve the future. We have heard them before many times. But what is important is the stability, the political stability today. And I think that is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And a bipartisan parliamentary approach has worked before. You'll recall during the time of Moi in 1991, mm-hmm. we had a similar situation, and it worked to resolve a number of issues. And so it's something that I think is necessary given the situation that we're in today. Mm-hmm. And I think both sides now appreciate, even the ruling side of the government, with the current situation in of the economy. Right. I think the last thing they would want is something else, that would divert their attention. So they would not have much choice now, mm-hmm. With the kind of situation in which the country is in, than to sit with these guys in the Azimio and find out how they can address some of the issues. But in any negotiation, there will always be people asking for the impossible. But I think all those things are political posturing. Some of these things, personally, I don't believe issues of server, opening the server. No one can open the server. Right. This is a matter that has been decided, by the Supreme Court. But there are issues. Even the cost of living is not something they can meet. Whether they are members of parliament or outside parliament, you can meet and resolve. Right. In a meeting that, yes, we have now resolved the issue of cost of living. No, these are not that easy. But I think clearly what we are seeing is the same arguments we have had during the BBI debates. That Azimio has premised the BBI on the need to do away with the winner takes it all and have an inclusive government. Mm-hmm. Where power is shared. Looking at, someone gets, 6 million, another one gets 6 point something, very close elections should they power. So they're premising, I think, their arguments on the need to include, the loser in the last election in somehow in the running of this country. But I think it's not going to be an easy discussion, but what is important is that at least it will cool down the temperatures. It might be drawn out. There are no low-lying fruits in these arguments. Mm-hmm. These are political, mm-hmm. And both sides have very significant numbers of hardliners. But I think what is important is that it will cool temperatures and at least get people off the streets. That's what is important. I think the need to talk will take people off the streets.
I take interest in what you just said about the BBI. And you remember when I spoke to the former Prime Minister, 18th of March, he was talking about had the Kenya Kwanza administration, all the leaders in it, not opposed BBI, wouldn't be where we are. So clearly you can see that alongside all these other issues that I'm speaking about, there's a conversation you want to have about opening up the Constitution and looking at some of those clauses. But do you think, looking at the current political climate, do you think that's a possibility that it can get to that position, that let's look at the Constitution, let's review some of the clauses to provide for what you're calling inclusive government?
No, I think personally my view is the Constitution is not the issue. And we do not need really to go that route of the Constitution. It's going to open a can of worms. Everyone, not just politicians, but every sector, every interest group, everyone in this country will be keen to have something amended here and there or included. I think the issue that is being raised about inclusiveness of government is already provided for in the Constitution. For example, in the appointments that are being made in government, the law is very clear. Both the Constitution is very clear how those appointments are supposed to be done. Every region, every community, every must be considered in political appointments. In the way resources are allocated, both at the national and county governments, this also addresses the issue of inclusiveness and equity. So the question is, when you have a situation where the government ignores that. But otherwise, I do not think, you remember the issue about, for example, in the BBI, that will increase the county allocations to 35%. There's no need for changing the constitution on that. The constitution says the minimum should be 15. That means the maximum is open. You can go to 40 if you want to. So the constitution is not the issue, but the constitution has always been the punch bag in our political discourse in this country, that we blame. If government doesn't do well financially, they say the problem is the constitution. It created so many offices. So I don't think the issue is constitution is about governance. And so those are the things that they need to be discussing.